You are now listening to the Q&E Podcast.
Is this what you want? Huh? Is this what you want? Well, come and get it, goddammit!
Hello, everybody. You're listening to the Q&E Podcast. Here with your boy Q Hicks right now. I got Edgar on the other line. Edgar, tell the people what's up.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to a new episode of the Q&E Podcast. This is our TV movie review pod. We ain't do one of these in a minute. So thank y'all for joining us and get ready to hear our reviews. Quincy, what are we reviewing today?
Lovecraft Country, man. If you don't know it, if you haven't seen the previews, it is executive produced by Jordan Peele. So I already knew it was going to be a hit just with his name attached to it. But when I've seen the first two episodes, bro, I was amazed. I still was amazed. It still exceeded my expectations, bro. So let me give y'all the synopsis real quick. It is based on a 2017 novel by Matt Ruff. The series provides an unflinching view of the 1950s Jim Crow America through the lens of Atticus Tick Freeman, a Korean War veteran in search of his father in a country that is segregated, hostile, and sometimes alien. So it's a whole lot of racism, a whole lot of science fiction involved, bro.
Everywhere. It's all over the place. All over the place.
Bro, did you watch Watchmen or no?
I never did get to watch it.
This gave me a real Watchmen vibe, in terms of the historical factor that they did, because it was the same thing. It was like the race type of thing.
Yeah, you tell me that.
Yeah. So it was the same type of time with both of the shows, bro. So I loved Watchmen. I didn't like how it ended, but I loved Watchmen in the series, and I already knew I'm gonna rock with it.
Yeah, see, that's gonna make me mad if I watch something good and then it ends terrible. That's why I be scared to watch new shit sometimes.
But it didn't hit for me. The ending just didn't hit for me, but for a lot of other people, it hit. So I don't know if you're gonna like it. It just depends on, you know what I'm saying.
It's on HBO?
It's on HBO. So yeah.
Okay, yeah, I'm gonna watch it.
Yeah. So we just gonna recap with y'all the first two episodes. So the first one was called Sundown Town, bro. So the series opens up, bro. You already know it was the Korean War. We see Atticus running through the war, fighting people off of him. And then we get to a scene, bro. It was a shot of, like, I don't even know how to explain it, bro.
It's like he was doing real, like, army. He was really out in the field, rolling with his rifle and everything. It's like he rolled over a hill and he rolled out of the 1950s into, like, this Star Wars type battlefield with aliens and spaceships and, like, bad bitch aliens and shit. I'm like, what is going on? Like, this is like the first 2 minutes. This is the first 2 minutes of the show.
Bro, I text Edgar, bro. I was like, bro, I said what the fuck at least 15 times just throughout that one scene. I just kept saying what the fuck. We seen, like, it was a whole octopus dragon flying in the sky and UFOs. And I'm like, I don't know what we getting for this show. So that's the first question I really wanted to ask you, bro. What were your expectations coming into this series? Because obviously it's based on a book. So what were you expecting coming into this show?
I was expecting, based off of how you kind of described it to me, I was expecting like a 7 out of 10 due to the fact that they were going to try and cross over a time period where science fiction wasn't really that big, like during the 1950s, and you're crossing that over with all the space, like alien type stuff. So I didn't know what to expect from that. So in my head, I'm thinking this probably going to be some average, like sci-fi cowboys and aliens type shit. Like, I'm thinking something like that. But I'll say the first 15 minutes of the first episode knocked me off my feet. I'm like, okay, I'm hooked. Like, within the first 15 minutes, I got hooked.
Yeah. And I knew it was going to be a 10 out of 10 right off the bat, just off of the Jordan Peele and off the previews. I seen the previews. I never read the book, so I didn't know what the book was about. But the previews got me excited. And it's funny, bro, because I forgot the whole alien scene in the previews. I just remember it was a lot of racism, and they were traveling to, like, another part of the town where it was a lot of, like, KKK type of thing going on. So I thought it would be a lot of involved with that. I forgot all about the sci-fi part of it. So when I seen the first scene, it just, I was like, wow, like I didn't see it in the previews, bro. So, oh my goodness. The cinematography of it was just amazing, bro. But after that scene, bro, like obviously you said it was the UFO, and a red woman drops down from the UFO. It's like beamed down, and she hugs Atticus. And it's honestly a foreshadowing of episode 2, because I think that was the same lady he was fighting in episode 2.
It was.
Scene.
It was
Yeah, but she was so I don't know who she was, but she's obviously a key figure in Atticus' life.
It was somebody that he when he went to his apartment episode 1 that he went into when he dialed the phone.
No, that was his dad's apartment.
Okay, he went into his dad's apartment in episode 1 and he dialed a Korean number and a lady answered the phone. So you got the alien lady in the beginning of the show in like alien form, but you could tell who it is. Then he called that Korean number and the Korean lady answered the phone. It was like, you shouldn't have left, blah, blah, blah. And then like that goes into episode 2. We'll explain that in a second.
Yeah. So after that scene, we go on and we meet Uncle George. We meet, I forgot what his aunt's name was, and we meet his niece or his cousin, Diane.
Yeah. And
we find out that Uncle George makes Negro guidebooks. I knew nothing about this, but they said that was a real popular thing in the 30s and 40s.
I heard about that. Yeah.
Yeah, so he tried.
It was like after the Underground Railroad era with Harriet Tubman, it was like, okay, now that we're free, like we still have to know where to go and how to go certain places. So I had read about that in the past before. So.
Yeah. So he basically travels around to different places and sees if it's like a safe territory or if it's something that you should stay away from. So he's obviously on the road a lot, and he's used to traveling, which we see like in the coming minutes of the episode. So we meet them, and Tick basically comes back home. Oh, we skipped the part because after that was the bus scene. The bus scene is when it was him and a black lady. They were sitting on the back of the bus, and it was a whole lot of whites. The bus breaks down, and obviously another truck had came, right? And they wasn't going to let the blacks back on the bus because they not allowed. They was getting crazy looks from the white people, and it was just like, you ain't gonna get on. So they had to, I don't know where they walked to. They never explained where they walked to. I don't know how far they had to walk, him and the lady, but I was just like, what? That shit blew my mind because I was like, they don't know where they're going. It's just like they're walking for minutes and minutes on end. It was crazy. But an interesting part in their conversation was she had said something. She had said, because he was bringing up that book, the War of Mars or something like that.
Yeah, it was he was basically describing the movie of John Carter. John Carter was like he was like a ranger, a Texas cowboy. In the comments for when we dropped this, y'all tell me if I'm wrong, but he was like some cowboy Western ranger who was on the run from somebody or whatever, and he hides in this cave. This cave ends up being like a portal into another dimension where he becomes this like ruler or whatever and all that type of stuff. And the lady, when they were walking after the bus scene, she was asking him like, what was he reading? Because the spaceship scene that we were explaining to y'all a few seconds ago, he was dreaming that. And she seen that book he was reading caused him to have that dream, that nightmare or whatever. And he was basically explaining in the book, like, it's about a ex-Confederate general who goes into this cave, goes into this portal, and he becomes like a hero and stuff like that. And she said, you can't be an ex-Confederate person. Once you're like that, you're always like that. And that got me because he was explaining like it's a fictional book. Like the heroes and characters, like they grow, like they change. Like that's why Pick likes reading so much, and he got that from his uncle and his father. He likes reading because you can take that fake scenario and make a hero out of anybody. But she wasn't trying to hear none of that.
Yeah, she really wasn't. But it's funny how the foreshadowing happened because, like you just said, he's a person who basically, and what you just said, what did you say?
What, how he reads?
John Carter? Yeah.
Oh, yeah. The movie, I think it was called John Carter, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, but it's basically going to reference that in episode 2 as well when we see Mr. Braithwaite as well, episode 2. So after those two scenes was that we meet Letty. It was the block party with Letty and her sister. And we finally meet Letty, who is Journey Smollett. If you don't know, that's from Roll Bounce. She was the light-skinned girl. And we basically find out that she really doesn't have any stability. She really bounces from town to town. She only really comes around when she needs something. So she comes around to meet her sister, who is a singer and a performer. And we find out that she can actually sing as well. But she comes home to Chicago. And that's where they went back to, if I didn't say that before. They went back to Chicago. That's where they were traveling back to because that's the home of Atticus. So we get back in Chicago, they sing or whatever, and we find out that she doesn't have any stability, but she sees Atticus again, and it seems like they have a little connection. So they've known each other from high school or middle school or something like that, and he obviously isn't the same smart kid, skinny kid from before. So she's looking at him like she really want him now. So
but I feel like they had the connection because he told her it was around the time when, like, we'll get to this part, but he brought up the fact that they were in like the same astronomy club or something like that in middle school or high school or whatever. Like, that's why she remembered him for being that small, skinny kid with the glasses. And now he's like this big buff dude, like from the army. Yeah. So I feel like that's why their connection is the way it is. They were already friends, and they just, like, you know how time people just separate over time. That's what it was, really. To me.
But the connection came a little too quick for me, bro. After you don't see nobody in a long time, she had came along with them on the travel to the Midwest. I was like, damn, I know she don't got no stability, but the fact that she traveling with y'all to another state and all that shit, I was like, damn, that shit was kind of quick. Shit felt like some Titanic type shit. Cause I was like, we're definitely gonna get some romance here. We already know how that's gonna go, bro. But the reason that she wanted to travel is that she wanted to meet her brother who was out in the Midwest. So her Uncle George and Atticus end up traveling to the Midwest to meet up with Letty's brother who's out.
But I was just gonna say, before we get to that part, for y'all who haven't watched it, the reason why they're going to the Midwest is because, like we said, Uncle George, he creates like he was basically like a safe guide for MapQuest before MapQuest even existed. He was like MapQuest for Black people, basically. And Atticus got a letter from his father, who he hadn't heard from in like 5 years. So the fact that he got a letter from his father is saying there's this place like that's important to our history and our family that you need to go visit and stuff like that, blah, blah, blah. And Atticus, like, he gets home, everybody has no idea where Atticus' dad is. Like, so they're like, we haven't seen him. Like, we know he drinks and we know he goes off every now and then, but he hasn't been back in like 2 weeks. So Tick is running around like, where's my father? He's checking everybody that knows him and can't find him at all. So he decides to go with Uncle George on this trip because the destination that Uncle George was already heading to, that's where Tick's father said he was. So he said that's where the place where he needs to check for his ancestry was. So.
Yeah. And he thought it was Arkham, but it ended up being Ardham, Massachusetts is the way he ended up having to go. And they had to go through Letty's brother's place to get more information on the ancestry and things like that to get to Ardham to find out, because it wasn't a direct path to Ardham. It's like it wasn't on a map.
It was in the middle of nowhere.
It was in the middle of nowhere. So it's like you couldn't really ride into it. You had to really walk into it, like really how they did. Because I really don't remember how they got there. Really. How did they get there?
It was
They didn't.
Damn, how did they get there? After the night with the monsters and shit, I think they just went walking.
They did walk there, bro, because we're going to get to it at the end of the episode, but they did walk there, and that's how they got to the Ardham house. So they did walk there. So, yeah, it was a place you couldn't drive to. You really had to walk to the place. So, like Edgar just said, they had to go find his dad. After that, they was on the road, and that's when they get the dinner scene. That's when we get the dinner scene in the restaurant, bro. You remember that?
Yeah. This is one of the parts that stuck out to me. Like, I like getting little history facts when I watch shows.
And one history fact that I kept picking up on, bro, and they really were playing with the dichotomy of like how Black people were living in the 50s and how white people were living. Do you remember that one scene, bro? Atticus and them was driving by, and it was like a billboard of the white people in a car, right? It was white people in the car, and it was like, this is the American dream. This is how you're supposed to live. But on the billboard, it was like Black people standing, waiting for a bus. So it was already telling you like the inequality of how niggas was living back then, bro. And it was another scene like that too.
It was literally another billboard before they got to the town with the dinner scene. It was another billboard that said, this is Sundown City or Sundown Country. Like, you niggers better not be out here during sundown time, or you know what, like, they literally used to have billboards that said that shit. And I was like, damn, like that's crazy, bro. That was so
Yeah.
crazy.
Oh, and this is the scene I was in between that scene too. They had stopped at a food place, bro, and obviously this was during segregation times, and it was at a restaurant, and the white people were getting served. It was like a white sign and then like a colored sign, and it was like white. It was like a white store because it was like white servers. So the white people were obviously serving the whites, and they was like getting all their attention, while the blacks were just like waiting, like, damn, we ain't never gonna get our food. Type, damn, we ain't even gonna get nothing. So it was like a couple scenes like that, like Edgar just said, the Sundown scene, the billboard scene, that really were trying to display like how the inequality was back in the 50s, man. And like I said, now we get to the restaurant scene. The restaurant scene, and they really put me on game with that White House fact.
That's what it was. That White House, I didn't know about that. I swear I didn't know.
I didn't, bro. So who had told them about it? So they had went to George House. They had went to, not George House, but Letty's brother's house first.
Mm-hmm.
Letty's brother's house. Then he had told them about a restaurant that they should go to. The restaurant was in the middle of like, I forgot what the place was, but it was
it was somethingville. It had
Simmonsville.
What was it?
Simmonsville. I think
Simmonsville, that's what it was. Yeah.
It was Simmonsville. Yeah, so they went to like, and that was like, and it had like a monster. It had a monster over that city. And that's how it was in the guidebook. It usually had a monster if you should not go to that town, bro. If it had like a Grim Reaper, I think, for the place that they were going.
And shout out to Diane, Tick little cousin. She the one who draws like all the cartoons like of the bad representations on each spot. So shout out to Diane. I like how they incorporated that because it reminded me of Black Panther with King T'Challa, like his little sister Shuri. She was in charge of like everything in the science department, in charge of making the weapons and all that. So in this show, to see Diane be in charge of the artistry of making the map, like that was cool as hell to me. That was cool,
bro. And you remember the comic that she gave her dad, bro? That reminded me a lot of Static Shock.
Yeah,
so how they played with that fact, because Static Shock is obviously a famous black character. And how, like, I think the show was from 2000 to 2004, but it looks like they referenced it in this show, bro. So it was a cool little playback for that show. Now we're at this scene with the restaurant. So they walk into the restaurant. Obviously, they getting bad vibes as soon as they come into the city. White folks looking at them crazy. They walk into the restaurant. The white folks don't even want to serve them. They looking at them crazy. One dude leave. The server, he walk up to the table. He's scared. He don't know what to do. He ain't never seen no black folks look like. So he like, okay, he like, what can I get you type shit. And they had told him to get some drinks for him. So he walked to the back. So obviously they looking around, bro, and they like, man, we should get out of here, Uncle George. Man, Uncle George, this ain't a safe place.
Yeah.
No, we supposed to be here. We supposed to be
here. We customers like everybody else. You a whole Army veteran. Your money is worth just as good here as anybody else. The whole time I'm looking like, Uncle George, you know damn well.
Exactly, bro. You talking that real bullshit, Uncle George.
You talking crazy right now, bro. You talking that real
bullshit. He really was talking that bullshit. But the server goes to the back, right? Server goes in the back, calls the sheriff and the business owners. So Letty walks to the back to the bathroom real quick. She sees him talking to the cops. So she like, oh shit. And then that's when we get that White House reference, bro. And they start looking around, and they like, and Atticus had asked him, Uncle George, why is the White House white?
And the reason why he asked that, I peeped why he asked that. Because when they pulled up to the building before, because Tick was driving, he was like, which building is it? And Uncle George was like, it should be a red brick building. And usually when you go into a red brick building, like, you don't usually see it painted white on the inside. Mm-hmm. And it looked run down on the outside. Like, it looked like some shit happened to it, but you knew it was a red brick building. They pulled up, they go in, white walls everywhere. It's crystal clear white on the inside. And the floorboards are kind of messed up. And you can like...
He had slid the floorboard back. He slid
the floorboard back. So that's why leading into that question, I was like, damn, why is he asking about the White House? Like, he looking at the white walls. I'm like, okay, the walls are white. And he said, why is the White House? Remind me again why the White House is white. And then that's when Uncle George was like, during the British invasion of 1812, they burned the original presidential house or whatever they call it. They burned it. Like, they didn't burn it down, but they burned it to where it looked terrible. So they had to repaint the entire building white to get rid of like all the burn marks and whatnot. And then As soon as he said the burn marks part, that's when Tick slid his foot back and he seen the burned ground underneath the new tile that was put on top of it. And then that's when Letty ran out. I was like, we gotta get the fuck out of here. That shit was so funny. I was like, that's my dog. Letty's the coolest one out of all of them, bro. I fuck with him.
And we gonna get to a part, bro. We gonna get to a part involving her where I almost stopped, bro. Stop this whole show. But I forgot to mention the reason that they were pointed in the direction of that restaurant because it was black owned at one point.
Right.
Like I said, it was burnt down because it was called Lydia's restaurant or something like that. But it was when they went there, it was called like a Simmersville diner.
It was like one of those, like in the textbook, how we used to see them 1950s diners. Like it looked like one of those.
Yeah, bro. So like Edgar just said, bro, Letty telling them, get out of there. We gotta go. So they finally get up, man. They run to the car. The cops coming down the street. So they obviously, man, Letty get in that bitch. She started whipping that bitch. Because at first, they didn't want Letty to drive. Because they was like, ain't no woman driving. Man, Letty got in that bitch, started to I was like, damn, Letty whipping. So the cops, man, they coming after him, right? So they get like, it's like a 3-minute scene, man. It's like they just driving, trying to get away from the cops. They hitting left, they hitting rights.
And when I was mad, let me say this. I was real mad about this chase scene. Because at least 2 of them people in that cop car wasn't even cops. They was just racist-ass white people.
Yeah, they were.
Who was literally on the back of the truck just firing his rifle off. I'm like, you're not even an officer. Like, what are you doing? I was like, man.
That's how it used to be, though, bro. You wanted to kill a nigga, bro. It don't matter if you was a cop or not. You wanted to kill a nigga. So if a nigga is doing...
You just freely be a policeman for 30 minutes if you want to. I'm like...
Literally, bro. Literally. So, and that made sense. So I like that part, how they incorporated that, too. So they obviously trying to flee away from that city, trying to get away. So the cops are still following them. But a silver car starts pulling up at an angle, and it looked like it was going to hit Letty them. But it looked like it slowed down a little bit and let Letty get by, and then it cut in front of the cop car. And then it looked like a force field type thing had came up, and it leaped over the silver car. Yeah, the cop car leaped over the silver car and crashed. So them niggas in the cop car, all them niggas was dead. And a white lady steps out of the silver car, which protected Letty and Uncle George and Atticus. So we like, who the hell is in this silver car? Like, who is protected? A white lady steps out. We don't know who the white lady is at this time. We're like, who is that? So Atticus looks back, and he just zooms. He's like, fuck, go. That's a white lady. We don't know what she.
I was like, this is making this situation a whole lot worse. I'm like, yeah, we gotta go, bro.
Yeah, bro. So she like, fuck it, we gotta go. But she obviously looked like she was gonna be a key character because I think I was watching a explained version of episode 1. She had popped up earlier in the episode. It was a silver car Atticus had seen that was following him. And he was like, why does the silver car keep following me? And he didn't know why. But obviously we seen who it was at that cop chase scene. So obviously it was a little foreshadowing with that. So moving forward was what scene? That's when we get Sundown.
I'm about to say this was around the time they in the woods and all that.
Yep, you're right. So they get to the Sundown City. And basically they're lost. They like, we can't find Artem. Like, we can't find Artem. So they keep going in circles. So they stop. So Letty and Atticus get out the car. We like, man, what the hell we at? Man, we don't know where we at. But more foreshadowing, they heard noises in the woods. And they were like, what the hell is that? And you remember Atticus saying, bro, he was like, he had brought up some book. And he was like, it's a blob with eyes that they say is in the woods. In the Arkham comics, it says,
it was, damn, I forgot what book he brought up. I know what you're talking about. He said the book or something, but I forgot.
He did say the book. I can't remember what the book was, but he did say the book. But it was a part of the Arkham like book series. And he was like, yeah, in the book it says that they have beasts out there that have eyes, and they're like basically blobs type of thing. And he was like, yeah, they stay in the woods. So that was more foreshadowing. So obviously a cop comes up. He see niggas around. He's like, oh shit. So he see niggas.
It's fun time for him. It's literally fun time for him.
Bro, that probably was the best scene of episode 1 to me, bro, because it was so chilling to watch. You feel what I'm saying? Like you felt the tension in that moment, my nigga, being a black person, and he had a rifle in his hand ready to go off if you said the wrong thing, my nigga. And remember, this is a sundown town. And it's 7:00. It was 7 o'clock at the time. So Sundown is at 7:09. So them niggas got to be out the city by sundown, which is
not just the city. It was like
county.
He was like, it's 7:00. They thinking it's sundown city. It was like, we know we got to be out of here. Like, what did he say? It was like, don't worry, we'll be out of here before sundown. Like, we know it's a sundown city and all that. He was like, city? This sundown county. You ain't getting out of here in 6 minutes. I was like, oh my God. I ain't get scared, but I'm like, no, bro, you got to be playing with me right now. And he was like, you can't speed, because if I catch you speeding, so I was like, oh my God, what is they gonna do? And they was like, we'll go back north then. He was like, that's your best bet. Like,
yeah. Because at first they was gonna keep going south, and it was like, got the south in 6 minutes. He's like, they was like, we go north then. It was like he looked at
get out north in 6 minutes, but it's gonna take you a good 15, 20 to get out going south. I was like, damn.
Bro, but the most chilling part about it was after that, when the cop was like, he kept trying to stall them, bro. He kept trying to talk to him. And then Atticus had asked him. He was like, can I make a U-turn? Because the U-turns were illegal then. So he was like, if you ask me real nicely, I'll let you go. So he was like, can I please make a U-turn? He was like, nah, you can do better than that. He was like, I want you to say, what'd he say? He said, let this smart nigga make a U-turn or something like that. Something
like, please, sir, let this smart nigga make a U-turn. And I was just like, bruh, I couldn't have been. I'm glad I wasn't born back there, bro. I'm so glad I wasn't born back there.
Bro,
I'm so glad I was not born back there.
I was thinking the same thing as you, bro. But in that situation, you had to put your pride to the side. You would have had to put your pride to the side in that situation, because I was thinking like you, like, man, they would have had to kill me in that moment. But like, man, you got to put your pride aside, because you got people with you too. You don't want to put their life at risk because you want to be hard-headed. You feel what I'm saying? It was like he had to do it. So he ended up saying, please let me go, sir, type shit. So the cop let him go. So obviously they in a rush. They got the map in their hand. They trying to get out the county. So they riding down. So the cops start following him because he making sure them niggas get out his city. But obviously, they can't speed. They can't speed because the cop is on their ass. So they're going the speed limit. Literally the slowest car chase I've ever seen in my life.
He wasn't even chasing them. He was just like, yo, I ain't even finna chase you. I'm just making sure you don't pass the line before sundown. I was like, this don't even count as a chase, dog. Like, he just waiting. He playing with their ass.
Real deal, bro. He started playing with it. He started hitting the car forward a little bit. Just messing with them, and they on the clock. Like, they only had like a minute left before they got out of the county.
Mm-hmm.
They ended up getting out the county, luckily, but it basically was a trap, my nigga. Yeah. They ran right into some more cops in another county, bro. That
literally, as soon as they crossed the county line, like, it was like 3 police cars waiting on them as soon as they crossed the line. I was like, damn, like, so they were screwed no matter what they did.
Exactly, bro. It's funny because you felt the tension, like, you felt the relief too. So he was like, niggas made it. And then you see the cops like right there waiting on their ass. It's like, my nigga, you can't win for losing in this situation. You really couldn't, bro. So obviously, and I want to go back to the Letty's brothers part of the episode. In that scene, Letty's brother had told him about the officer or the sheriff of that county. He was like, Sheriff Hunt. Sheriff Hunt is a badass. You know what I'm saying? There's a lot of black folks that go in that county and they don't get out. It don't matter what time of day it is. So he was obviously informed about the sheriff before going into the county, but he still got caught up with the sheriff with the little trap situation. So they all had to get out of the car. Uncle George, Letty, Atticus had to get out of the car because it's like 5 cops literally waiting on them at that time. So it's obviously sundown. It's dark as hell outside. And them niggas go into the woods because they obviously was about to get hanged at this time. They were about to get hanged. So they obviously talking to him, and they started to say that they did a robbery. They were doing some type of burglary. They start blaming them for a burglary that happened.
They had burglary suspects that they were looking for, and they was black, so they just assumed they were the burglars. Exactly,
bro. So they take them out to the woods, and then obviously they go like a little back and forth dialogue between Atticus and the sheriff. And he was like, because I think Atticus had said something. He was like, Sheriff Hunt, right? And he was like, nigga, how you know my name? Like, I thought that nigga was dead. I was like, whoa. I would have been saying
he was telling them, he was like, we're not burglars. Like, y'all gotta, it's a misunderstanding. Y'all can literally search our car. And he was like, this nigga think he's smart, telling us we could just search his car. Like, I've never seen anybody willingly let you search their car. And then I'm just like, and then he said his name. He was like, Officer Hunt, blah, blah. And that's when he was like, how you know my name? I'm like, damn.
I was like, this nigga dead for real. I was like, this nigga dead for real, bro. But obviously, that's when we start to hear the sounds of the woods. And I think the name of the animals or the name of the beasts were called shoggoths. They're called shoggoths. And that's why I was saying before about the blobs, and they have hella eyes on their body. And they start coming out the woods, and one just attacks the sheriff, bite that nigga arm off. So you see an arm hit the ground, and niggas just start running everywhere. It's just fucking like, bruh, niggas was running everywhere. So, and this is when I started to realize Uncle George wasn't gonna make it through the season. And I was like, this nigga Uncle George ain't gonna make it. Because like I said, everybody starts to run.
Yeah.
George stays on the ground. He falls down and stays on the ground. I was like, nah, he falling behind. This nigga ain't gonna catch it with everybody else.
He know he can't run far because he got 2 shattered kneecaps. So he already know he can't run. So that's why he was like, I just stayed down until it got calm where I was. I was like, I mean, that do make sense. Even though I would want you to run, that makes sense. So
yeah. But I was like, I don't know how much of a risk he's taking, because like if you stay there, nigga, you can still get your ass ate. You feel what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because he had no light on him, really. Or he did have light on him.
He had that light right next to him. Because the officer arm that got bit off, that the light was in his hand. So
yeah. So like I said, everybody started running. One of the officers got their head bit off by one of the beasts, the shoggoths. And then Letty and Atticus end up running to like a cabin. So they start hiding in the cabin. And they like, bro, what the fuck? What is that? What the hell was that? What the hell was that? And then the 2 officers start to run in, right? So one of the officers was bit. When they was bit, and they got
the sheriff. The sheriff was bit.
The sheriff was bit. Yeah, you're right. The sheriff was bit. He had his arm bit off. And there was another officer who had a gun. So they obviously let them into the cabin as well, because if not, they was gonna get shot. So they let them into the cabin. They like, where Uncle George? Where Uncle George at? So they stretched out Uncle George, and then what? Did another shoggoth come to the cabin?
Not before Uncle George got there.
Okay, yeah, then we cut to Uncle George, and then Uncle George was trying to get through, and then he finds out that they don't like light. If they have light showing him, that he doesn't like light. So he ended up finding that out. He ended up running back to the cabin. They opened the door for Uncle George because it was barricaded for a minute. And then Uncle George comes in. So they waiting in there. And then that's when the dude starts to turn, I think.
Mm-hmm.
See? Yeah, the dude starts to turn.
Because the reason why Uncle George was able to tell them about the light situation is because he was bringing up the story of Dracula. You know, Dracula was afraid of light, and he was like, I noticed with these creatures, they act like Dracula, because back then all you could do really was read books. So he read the book of Dracula, and he was like, Dracula was afraid of sunlight, and that's how these creatures act. So that's when he told the officers and Letty and Tick. But when the sheriff started to turn, he looked at Tick, and this was around the point where they told Letty to run to the car to get the car and bring it for the headlights, so that way they could try and get out and have light for them. Letty was the fastest out of everybody. She was a high school track star.
No, but that wasn't the reason though, because at first Atticus wanted to.
Oh yeah, Atticus wanted to go.
Atticus wanted to go, but he was like, "Nah, nigga, you ain't leaving because you gonna leave us behind." So the sheriff was like, "No, she gotta go."
She gotta go. So then that's when she left. But then when she left, that's when the sheriff started to change. And when he started to change, Uncle George looked at Tick and he was like, what happens when a vampire bites a person? Like, what happens when that person gets bit by a vampire? And he started to change. I was like, damn, I didn't even peep that just now.
Yeah. So Uncle George was so well read, bro. He had a quote for like damn near everything. That nigga had a quote for, bro. But yeah, like Edgar just said, dude starts to turn. Letty is running to the car, and she has a shoggoth like chasing her, jumping from tree to tree, basically about to get her ass running to the car. And the car was a little minute away. I didn't know how long that was gonna be, but that shit was a little minute away. But she was a track star in high school, she said. So she was getting that bit down the block. So she ends up getting to the car, and obviously, like Edgar said, they don't like light. So she turns the headlight on, and the shit basically goes away. But then it looks like it comes back up and on the window. So it was like, damn, what happened after that? Did it jump on the window? And she
shot it. I think she shot at it.
A flare gun. Oh
yeah, flare gun. That's what it was.
Was it a flare gun?
She shot a flare gun at it, and then the light from the flare gun hit it in the face, and then it ran.
And then it went. Yep. And then Letty came back up, or Letitia came back up to the cabin. Like Edgar just said, the sheriff is turning. And this was that made me so mad, my nigga. Because the other officer was pissing me the fuck off, my nigga.
Yeah.
Why are you not shooting? You obviously see him changing, my nigga. Why are you not shooting him? The officer just sitting there watching him turn, bro. He's like, no, I don't.
Uncle George, like, you need to shoot him.
Yeah.
That should be your first instinct.
Bro, and they all were just a little too calm for me. A little too calm for me, bro. Because they was like obviously seeing a nigga turn, but they was like still talking in like regular tone. It was like, you need to shoot this nigga. Like, it would have been more pressure would have been involved with my voice, my nigga. Because oh my god, so he starts to turn. The other officer doesn't shoot him, so the nigga obviously turns into a full grown Sawgoff. So he was about to attack everybody. He ends up biting his officer, the one who had the gun. He ends up biting him, and then luckily
bit his whole face off. Like,
bit his whole damn face off. And then that's when Lady comes in with the car. This was another time I was like, Uncle George ain't gonna make it to the end of the season because Uncle George was on the ground and he was literally dead. I thought he was dead on the ground, bro.
I thought he was dead. I was like, damn, Lady didn't kill Uncle George. I was like, nah.
Bro, I literally thought, bro, I was like, bro, Lady done killed Uncle George. But then I seen he was still alive, though. So we see Lady crash in, and she puts the headlights on the sheriff who turned into the Sawgoff, and he ends up riding off. But you hear more Sawgoffs coming.
Yeah.
Like, oh, shit. So Uncle George was obviously, like, knocked out. So you had to push him in front of the headlights so he wouldn't get got. But it's like hella Sawgoffs outside, my nigga. It was about, like, 10 to 15 of them, like, waiting for them to come outside. So they putting flare guns down on the ground so they'll stay away. But it looked like they were still finna come get their ass. I don't know. Did you feel that way? Did you feel like they were still?
I felt like eventually, because flare guns usually, like, the bullets usually go out after a certain amount of time. So they weren't going to be there all night with a flare gun.
Yeah, bro. So I felt the same way. I was like, these niggas about to get got, bro. But then that's when a whistle blows. Whistle blows. We don't know who blows the whistle, but a whistle blows, and all the Sawgoffs, like, just run away from them. So they obviously got away. Uncle George ends up waking up, and they end up walking back to the Artem house. We end up finding out it is the Artem house.
Yeah, they had to leave the car because the car was wrecked at this point.
Car was fucking wrecked.
They just started walking. They found the nearest road, and they just started walking wherever they could, and that's when they just stumbled upon the Artem house at that point.
Because I think it was behind the woods. I want to say it was behind the woods. So we had to cut through the woods to get to Artem. So that's why it wasn't on the map, because you had to cut through the woods to get there. That's why it wasn't on the map. But they get to the front door, and it's like the only house in sight, really. So they obviously just walk to the first place.
It's like a manor. It's like
it's
not, I can't even say a mansion. It's a manor. Like, it's a real.
And we see it in the next episode how big and how much is involved with the whole manor type of lifestyle. But they walk up to the door, and they don't even knock on it first. The door is opened as soon as they get to the door, and it is
Williams. I think that's his name.
What's his name?
William.
I
thought his name was William.
William? Yeah, it might. Oh yeah, it was William. It was William because he said in the episode.
I was about to say I can Google it real quick.
Because I see it somewhere that his name was Caleb.
Nah, it wasn't that.
Because I had read somewhere his name was Caleb Brady.
It started with.
Yeah, I think she said somewhere that.
It was William. It was William.
Yeah. So William, he opened the door.
Before they got to the door, what car did they pass walking up to the door?
That was episode 2.
Oh yeah, that's right. They didn't see it when they walked up. Yes, they did.
No, they just walked to
at the end of
episode 2, because that's when they find out that the car is not wrecked.
No, walking up to the door before Tick almost shot the knock on the door, like they walked past the car, he looked to the side and he was like, "That's the same Bentley that."
Oh,
yeah.
I thought you were talking about something else, my nigga.
Yeah.
I thought you were talking about how the car was fixed.
Oh no.
That's why I was like, that was in episode 2 when they walked past the car and the car was fixed. Oh yeah. But you're right. The silver car was definitely in the driveway though. So he was like,
Tick peeped that. He was like, "That's literally the same car that saved us." And then he got to the door, almost knocked on it. William, before his fist even touched the door, William opened it. He was like, "What's his last name, Mr. Freeman? We've been expecting you. Welcome home."
Yeah.
And I was like, "Welcome home." I was like, "Whoa!" And then it just went off right there. I'm like, "No, I gotta watch episode 2."
Facts, bro. Because I was hella confused, man. I was hella confused. Because he knew all of them. So I was like, damn, my nigga, what is going on?
Yeah.
So I was like, so obviously that's when it cuts off, and then we get to episode 2. So
that was a crazy way to end episode 1, bro.
It is, bro.
This man said, "Welcome home." I'm like, whoa, what family is his dad in? I'm like, his dad didn't explain any of it in episode 1 or 2 on why he was like involved in any of that stuff.
And
like,
it wasn't his dad though, bro. It was his great grandmother.
That's right.
Related. That's how he's related, bro. And his dad knows this, but his dad is involved in it too. He's got the same bloodline. But his great grandmother is how he got involved with the Braithwaites. And that's the last name of the manor. But what was your favorite part of episode 1 though, bro?
Favorite part of episode 1 was the chase scene when Letty told him to get out the restaurant and she was the one driving the car. That was one of my favorite parts.
And I forgot to say that part, bro. When she was driving the car, right? She was driving the car, and Uncle George kept saying he kept just telling her what to do. He's like, nigga, she was like, I got this. And she kept, I think he called her a girl or something.
He kept calling her girl the whole time. Like,
yeah. She's like, man, my name is Letitia fucking Lewis. She started riding around. So that was legendary, man. That was legendary.
I feel like that was one of my favorite parts. And what was another one of my favorite parts? I don't think that was my only favorite part of episode 1, but I feel like the vibe in episode 1 of just the knowledge that they all had, that Tick has, that Uncle George had, like the emphasis on how much Black people read back then. I feel like that's what I like so much about episode 1, because the way we know so much from technology and like just looking at a screen nowadays, that's how much, if not more, they used to know back then from reading books. Like, so I like the fact that they emphasize the knowledge that we had from reading back then, especially at a time when we wasn't even really supposed to be reading like that anyway. So
my favorite part of episode 1, bro, I would have to say the intro, because the intro was so damn crazy, man. The intro was so crazy, bro. So I would say the intro was probably my favorite part of episode 1. But yeah, because that really set the tone for the whole show. I ain't even gonna lie to you. It really set the tone. But did you have any takeaways? What was your mindset going into episode 2? What was your mindset? Where do you think they were going to take you?
My mindset going into episode 2 is like, this is exactly what I thought going into episode 2. Oh Lord, he must be finna be part of some crazy white cult, and he must have white family members that he just never knew by and stuff like that. I'm thinking this finna be some real. I'm thinking we're at the point where it's finna go from an all Black family, to a real interracial, cultish type situation. And I'm like, I'm really interested to see how this gonna go. So I was like, let me hurry up and click play.
Yeah. Yeah, bro. And my biggest takeaway, bro, is that this show is basically, if I just take the race part out of it, it felt like an adult Stranger Things to me, bro.
Yeah.
Like the monsters kept going up. And I feel like we're gonna keep seeing more the more we get into the show. We're gonna keep seeing like crazier monsters and shit.
Did you see the trailer for episode 3?
I did.
Yeah, episode 3 giving me real the Conjuring vibes. It's giving me real.
Because they was playing with a Ouija board.
Yeah, Ouija and all that. I'm like, man, this show finna be lit.
Yeah. So it definitely felt like an adult Stranger Things. And like I said, mixed with the Watchmen vibe of the race. Because Watchmen, they had talked about the Black Wall Street. They were talking about Black Wall Street, how that was like destroyed by the white man. And in this one, they're talking about like the Jim Crow South. Basically what they were talking about in this one as well. So, man, I just love that about these shows, bro. I love how they're incorporating that in the shows now. And the science fiction, it adds up to be a great show. In episode 3, bro, just to give y'all a preview of episode 3, it looked like it's going to be a lot of like
paranormal, Ouija board, Conjuring vibes. Like,
yeah.
And they going back. They're going back home. So, they're going back home. Letty's sister gonna be in the next episode more and stuff like that. So, and it's gonna be a lot of Black versus white property owning type shit. Like it's gonna be crazy. Episode 3 gonna be crazy.
Yeah, bro. So we definitely appreciate y'all for tuning in. I know we was all over the place when it came to these reviews, bro, but it's just because of this show, bro.
It's an all over the place show.
It's an all over the place type of show, bro. That's why some things I be skipping, bro. I be missing out on some things, bro. But you already know my man Edgar gonna hold it down, bro. But Edgar, hit the people with the social media.
You can follow us on Twitter at QE Podcast 1. You can follow us on Instagram at Q_N_E_Podcast. You can follow and like our Facebook page, Q&E Podcast. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, Q&E Podcast. Click the subscribe button and the notification bell and hit all so you can see anytime we drop. Our email, QANDEpodcast@gmail.com for any business inquiries, questions, concerns, fan mail. We'll try to get back to you as soon as possible with that. You can reach Quincy on Twitter at Q_Hicks3. You can reach him on Instagram at QHicksProduction. You can reach me on Twitter at EdgarMartin97. And you can reach me on Instagram at EdgarMartinOfficial. Shout out to Blue Collar Media Group and MTMV Sports.
Yes, sir. And subscribe to us on all of our podcast platforms. We are on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, man. So definitely check us out and subscribe to all the podcast platforms. Subscribe to my YouTube. Just type in Quincy Hicks into the search bar and you will find my name. I'm the first one. Definitely go ahead and subscribe. And what you want to do this every week, bro, every 2 weeks? How you want to do this with the reviews, bro?
I feel like every week could be best. That way we don't got to do 2 whole episodes each time. You know, we can try and do it as often as we can. So
yes, sir. So
come out on Sunday, right?
So every Tuesday review?
Tuesday, yeah. Or whatever day we got free that upcoming week. As long as we do it before each new episode. So
yeah.
Y'all listen to this real often with this.
Yeah. So every week, bro. Every next week, we're going to get y'all the episodes, bro. Like I said, definitely tune in. If you haven't watched the show, and if you just caught up by listening to us, you already know how exciting this show is, bro, how creepy it is, and how tenseful the racism it can be. So definitely watch it yourself so you can be all caught up and listen to our reactions to what happened during the show, bro.
Now that we caught up to it, hopefully we don't got to dive in way too much now with the next episodes. Now,
yes,
hopefully
sir.
y'all watching to keep up now. So.
All right, bro. We appreciate y'all for listening, and we out. Yeah.